and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate World Podcast. This is Scott Picard with the Real Estate World Podcast, day 6 on our live Facebook feed on what we've been doing with our, Corona Chronicles or coping with Corona, whatever you want to call it. We're trying to not make light of what's going on, but put as positive a spin on the changes that are occurring in people's lives here, in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, but also bringing in people from throughout the country and throughout the world. In fact, we'll have guests internationally coming up next week from Australia, the UK. I will have someone on from the outskirts of New Rochelle, New York, where the epicenter of the coronavirus was, kind of the first real hot pocket in New York State. We're going to talk with Janelle from that region, Nick from Australia. I believe Ilias is going to be checking in from the UK, and we'll have other people as we go through this journey here. Today's guest is someone who is very near and dear to my heart, a gentleman I've known for, I would say, 25 years, a person who, in my formative college years, we were at just a nasty basement at some house party in St. Cloud, and this guy just kind of like matriculated up from the floor. It was like there was this pile of slime, and all of a sudden it took human form. It was like really one of the more amazing metamorphoses I've ever seen in my life. It's that and my friend's septum. But he's
sounds like something out of Dogma, Scott.
Something out of Dogma, yeah. Well, it truly goes by many names. Beelzebub, made infamous by Gwen Stefani calling him out at the 311 show that No Doubt was opening for in the mid-90s. Well, my friend Mike was in the process of missing the next morning's criminal justice exam. Gwen Stefani points at this guy in the front row with the effing Go Nuts shirt, not Dunkin' Donuts, effing Go Nuts, and she's like, "Who is this asshole or idiot," or like some derogatory phrase describing him. So, and most recently, he's not a fan of pants. It's a good thing he's sitting down. And most recently, he has been responsible for sending me this fine piece of literature. I don't drink anymore, but maybe if my wife is drinking tonight, we'll be able to at least open the book. It was a little sticky though. So anyway, so without further ado, live from Des Moines, Iowa, or some suburb thereabouts, from the bunker, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dustin Thostenson. Dustin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, dude. I'm glad that you got the book. I know that you've been doing a lot of reading. I know you've got a lot of time on your hands. So I thought, hey, let's put these things together and maybe Jess can be happy for a change, huh?
Well, I appreciate you sending me that bio too, because that makes my job a little easier introducing people, and they can just tell me so succinctly what try to distill one person's body of work, such as yours, down into like just a 2 or 3 minute introduction is nearly impossible to do. So I appreciate the help.
Yeah.
I know that.
I'm glad this is recorded so I can update my LinkedIn profile now. Thank you, Scott.
Our listener appreciates it. So
our listener.
No, but this, unfortunately, this will be probably unfortunately seen by a lot of people and heard by a lot of people. So keep the language to like PG-13. If we want to go into R occasionally, that's fine. I'm obviously home, and as you can see, I am ready for the shelter-in-place order. I got the cheddar cheese balls. I'm sure Bridget can appreciate this. Well, last time I saw her, I think she had both hands stuck in one of these. And it's these things are like crack. I guess I don't think I've ever had crack, but I can't stop eating them. And I'm on like this. I don't think this is keto friendly. I'm like ketogenic diet. I think I might have broke ketosis this morning when I shoved my head in that thing. So I was like one of those dogs with one of those lampshades on their head, walking around the house with the Cheeto bucket. So, so Dustin, I digress. Tell us, tell our audience a little bit. You are currently living in Iowa, correct? And I apologize.
Correct. Des Moines,
where the men walk tall and the sheep run scared. I've heard. The thing is,
here's the honor.
Tell me, what are you doing? What is the environment down there? Obviously we've got a worldwide pandemic going on. Have you been affected? How you've been affected, and what are you doing?
Yeah, things are interesting. So, Scott, you and I had both started our careers kind of in the same area. We were both studying computers and business. We both started off computer programming. You decided that you wanted to go into something a little bit more interesting, and I decided that I just wanted people to hate me more and crawl into caves. So I kept going down my computer programming path.
You look more like Dogbird every day. I'll tell you that right now.
I appreciate that. Yeah, better than the pointy-haired boss. So yeah, I've spent my time writing code. I've been pretty big in the developer community, or not pretty big, but involved with it. And the last dozen years, I've gone independent, which means I've been selling my services, consulting, et cetera, for other companies. Lately, I've actually been doing a lot more coaching, which is just kind of pure consulting. Haven't had my hands on the keyboard as much. I've been working for some different companies, currently with a Fortune 10 automotive company in Detroit. And that's been rather interesting, flying back and forth there every week. A couple of weeks ago, they told us we're not traveling. And now, this company, along with a lot of others, are really starting to kind of pull back. So I've been hearing a lot from other developers, other consultants. This is really starting to hit a lot of people.
So you're starting to see some business decisions being adjusted based on budgets being cut, or revenue forecasts changing and stuff like that in even technology right now.
Across the board, cash and costs are being hit right now. Companies are trying to make sure that the full-time employees stay employed. Some companies are having mandatory vacation time. I've heard other people or other companies where people might be getting paid 65 to 75% of their regular salary to just not work at all anymore. Kind of a retainer, a very nice retainer.
Kind of like a quasi furlough, but like, and I'm not, the term furlough, I don't know if that can have multiple meanings, if that means you simply keep your job and you're on hold, or if the people, I know many times when people are furloughed, they still get their benefits, or, the company will pay their medical and stuff, but, I don't know what that means in terms of.
Thankfully, being correct has never really been something you care too much about, Scott. So
right. Yeah.
We'll just keep moving forward.
80%. Yeah. So speaking of that, when you look, say something, your eyes, there you go. Now you're looking at the camera. There we go. It was very odd. It was almost like I was having sex with you. Anyway. God, we're just this, as you can tell, Dustin and I have known each other a very, 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 very long time. So
adequate man.
Yeah, exactly. So you're seeing that, is that specific to an industry? Because what industry are you most, IT obviously, but there's different verticals and different horizontals, right? That's like saying.
I've been in so many different industries, Scott. Finance, agriculture, manufacturing, automobile, worked for a company that did stock trading, insurance, medical. The beauty of technology is it really just streams across all of them. And in most cases, it's kind of the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cause there are some industries like, anything logistical, supply chain stuff, especially if it's, food related, medical related, those are like the few places, Amazon, that are, Amazon's actually hiring, I think 100,000 people countrywide. Domino's Pizza, believe it or not, delivery, and it's a little distressing because a lot of the, you see a lot of the restaurants right now many of them will not reopen ever.
Yeah.
Okay. And the relief that's coming either won't come quick enough, it won't be enough, or the time that they're forced to be shut down will be too long. And it's, it's obviously sad. I've worked in an industry for 8 years. Yeah, you want to know how long I've been in college? It was about that long. And I even managed a restaurant as general manager during that time. And I know firsthand the margins in these places are incredibly small. And some God bless them for trying to be able to do delivery and takeout right now. But for many of them, if you're fine dining, that's selling steak and high end merchandise in terms of food, the cardboard takeout box isn't necessarily the best way to present your experience, right? Like you don't pay. I'll speak for myself, but I don't go to dinner to spend $100 a plate if I'm going to carry it out in a box. That's there's usually that's about $4.99, and there's like Golden Arches that have that experience. Chipotle. There's plenty of other. It says my internet connection's unstable. Am I coming through?
Yeah, you were a little choppy there. I wasn't sure if it was you or me, so I'm glad to blame you.
Yeah, no, it's weird because I think everyone's getting
too much
home.
Personality.
There's too much personality. Yeah, we're clogging up the bandwidth. Is being clogged, but it's hard to have that premium menu and that quote unquote premium experience and do it via cardboard box and people come pick it up. Even if you deliver it, I mean, it's really. So my heart goes out to a lot of these restaurants because I know for most of them it's a very low margin business. You are not sitting on a pile of cash in the back room. There's not a goose that's laying golden eggs that you just go prod and then you have more money coming out. I mean, these people are running many times. It's a week or two of cash flow, and that's before they get paid, the owners and stuff. And then you have all the staff that's laid off, who are wondering if they're going to have a job when they get back. And that's, it's fairly terrifying. And you see this starting to kind of cascade throughout different industries, right? With people being furloughed, and even in IT, IT I thought was recession proof, right? Like I thought, no matter what, the IT guy with the pocket protector is the last guy to go, right? And can I see your pocket protector, by the way?
No.
Okay. But I mean, and obviously I'm joking, but a little bit trying to inject some humor in this, but it's not a funny situation. So what do you know about the different, have you been following what the different relief programs are going to be? Have you gotten any insight?
I've been trying to avoid some of that news just because some of the stuff is rather frustrating. There's a lot of invalid information that's coming out there, but going back to some of your things about the people who are being hit by this, we've had a really good economy and there's been a lot of people that have been doing well. I go to Detroit every week and I've seen that area rebound from the last recession, and the other people that I work with there have talked about the new restaurants that are popping up, the kind of that renewed sense of purpose in the city. They're finally starting to get rid of some of their potholes, and now they're going to be taking another hit. And being in IT, I went independent myself back in 2008. So right at the time that I had my third child and my wife stays at home, I thought to myself, this is a good time for me to take a really big risk and walk away from full-time employment to make sure that if something does go bad, I have no safety from a full-time job or anything. And I joke about that a little bit. It ended up being a great decision for me. However, that recession-proof IT job, I don't know if that's always going to be there. And the really interesting thing is when you take a look at what companies need to do to succeed and to survive, they need to do more with less. And oftentimes that comes with technology, more automation, being leaner, more technology. Those are the things that are going to solve this. But companies, it's very expensive for them to spend money on technology. So the time that they need to spend the money the most is the time that they don't have it. It's a really tough trade-off.
Right. And that it's kind of counterintuitive, right? You want to, when the herd is running this way, you want to run against the grain, and that's where the opportunity really is. But when you're faced with, like a lot of places, revenues dramatically lower, right? I mean, it's interesting. I think a lot of retail is getting killed right now, not the big box stores necessarily, right? And great, right? Like I don't want anybody to fail. Targets are probably doing fine. Walmart's probably doing fine. Although I was in Target yesterday, getting a couple things, and before the shutdown here, and Targets aren't shut down, but it was not that busy. Like there were not that many cars in the parking lot. There was not a wait in the line. So who knows? Their home delivery, I think they use Shipped. The Instacart hiring. I know, like Whole Foods, Costco, I believe, does Insta. Whole Foods does the Amazon. I think they have private shop stuff. And that may be the case, and it may be a different case in different parts of the country. So that's fine. If you think it's different over here, great, let us know. I mean, well, it doesn't really necessarily matter the logistics. It's just the fact that they are open for business and delivering. Gosh, this internet connection. And trust me, we pay for pretty high speed internet here. It's like 300 or 400 meg. So I don't know what's going on, but maybe it's you, Dustin. But I mean, the reality is that you've got a situation where much of retail is suffering because they're not open, right? Who's shopping outside of necessity, going beyond I can't imagine there's a bunch of people rushing to go shopping right now when A, the malls are all closed, and B, that people are social distancing and trying to avoid other people at all costs. Like who's taking a leisurely stroll down Main Street where most of the stores are now closed. They're now shuttered here in Minnesota. I do find it ironic that liquor stores are essential services, but I get it. But as someone who's not currently drinking, it's probably not as high a priority for me as maybe it would have been a year ago.
One of our friends our shared friend in Colorado was mentioning that Colorado had made the same statement. They said that liquor stores and dispensaries were not critical. People were lining up around the corner, and then the government changed their minds pretty quick on that. Maybe the government recognizes you want to have a sedated public. That's a safe public.
Well, it's probably is safer, especially people had mentioned to me, like there's people who are dependent, or who may suffer from other illnesses, that if they were suddenly cut off from their alcohol, there might be bigger problems. And I understand the argument there too. So but because somebody asked me where we have property management, a real estate company, and people are like, what do we do? People need to move in. Do I need a note? I'm like, look, you can go to the grocery store, hardware stores stay open. You can definitely go give someone keys to move into their home right now. I think that's probably pretty essential, that somebody doesn't sleep in their car tonight. So don't worry about it. If you get pulled over and they need to talk to someone, please have them call me. I'll ignore the call, and then you'll be put in jail. No, just kidding. But it's so. I mean, I think the thing I grapple with, and I don't know about you, but it's getting in your own head and wondering, okay, like for people who are out of work, don't be prideful. There is unemployment benefits now. I mean, I think Minnesota, I think you get 26 weeks. The federal programs, I believe, 18 weeks. You get up to $600 a week, plus I believe there's an extra amount with the federal program, with the new relief, that bill that's come out. I am trying to, in fact, I'm going to look at this.
I am curious who that all is applicable to, though. Because it's very broad. Okay. Well, here's the thing, Scott. I've been a 1099 for a dozen years now, right? So I'm self-employed. I'm one of the people in the gig economy. I've been okay because I recognize that my job can go away, right? That part of being a contractor is they pay you a little bit extra, so they have that flexibility where they can pull that lever and make an adjustment to their finances and let some people go. I get that. However, there's a lot of guys driving Uber, Lyft, they're also 1099s. I don't know if they're going to be
Yeah,
able to fall
I
back
believe they're
on that.
covered. I believe they're covered.
Are
I'm
they?
going to read something from, this is from, I put this on my
Good.
Facebook wall, from CNBC from yesterday.
All right.
Well, 326, so it's technically from Thursday. It says, can gig workers get benefits? Yes. So legislation extends unemployment checks to gig workers like Uber and Lyft drivers, who are generally independent contractors rather than salaried employees, typically eligible for unemployment. The Labor Department should publish guidance specific mechanics. Gig workers, such as documentation, need to prove wages and work history. Experts say forms and 1099s and some sort of payment stub should suffice. Now, there is, real estate agents, I believe, are eligible for unemployment. So,
Good-looking consultants or good-looking consultants.
yeah.
Well,
So you're
And Scott,
right.
I think for the real estate criteria, I think it's based off of your 2018 income. So it's not, they take it from a couple years in the past for that, I believe.
You believe it's from the 2018?
Well, 2019 taxes aren't done yet. So
No, but I mean, what if you didn't work in 2018, but you worked in 2019? Or what if so that is, and this is a rhetorical question, because it's something that, something I'm going to look into more, and I'll post it because I'm sure there's new guidance. And one of the big issues right now is disseminating all the information, the incomplete information, the misinformation, the inaccurate information, the speculation, right? It takes a lot of work to just sift through all that and figure out what's fact and what's fiction. It says in this article, the new legislation restricts the maximum duration of unemployment benefits to 39 weeks or almost 10 months. Under the new legislation, a typical worker could expect $985 a week for 4 months, $600 in extra relief plus state benefits, followed by up to 23 weeks of $385 a week in standard state benefits. Now this is,
yeah,
or depend, this
yeah.
is,
Go ahead and share that. That's good stuff, Scott.
yeah. So states generally base payments on a worker's prior 4 quarters of wages. So again, digging into this, the more information I get, the more I'll share. It's just, it's a lot of, this is a $2 trillion bill. And then if you want to get into the aid that's available for small business owners, the restaurants, the travel industry, the small operators, the small retailers, that, again, if they're shut down for 2 or 3 months, are they paying rent during that time? That this has a massive impact. Mm-hmm. I looked at the SBA guidance on the, I'm going to pull it up right now. I apologize. I had it right up on my phone, and then, it just, of course. But the SBA guidance, and it's written in hieroglyphics in 2-point font. So you're going to see the world's worst glasses. But if you look at the Small Business Owners Guide to the CARES Act, if you Googled that, a lot of this they're talking about giving loans to businesses, and the loans, again, if you're not bringing any revenue and you're taking a loan, immediately I know that immediately you're skeptical, right? Because you're like, well, if my payroll is $20,000 a pay period or $50,000 a pay period, whatever that is, and I don't have any money coming in, I don't know when I can open, why would I necessarily take out a loan? But apparently the loans are somewhat forgivable if you don't lay people off, and there is a quick infusion of a smaller amount of cash. There is an emergency economic injury grant to ease your fears about keeping up with payments on your current or potential SBA loan. The Small Business Debt Relief Program could help. So just some quality free consulting. So I will tell you, if you're going to call, get ready for long waits. Because I was curious yesterday, because some people were telling me, hey, you you can renegotiate your rates on your business cards and, do all this. I'm like, well, I'm going to call and see what happens. Well, after an hour, 15 minutes on hold with one company, I was like, okay, well, this ain't going to happen today. Because I was curious, what can people do? And I'm going to go through this all, and I'm going to share it with folks as much as I can, as succinctly as I can with video, including I'm going to go through the unemployment application process. I am not eligible for unemployment, so I will be denied it if I actually hit submit. But I believe I'm not, as a business owner, I don't believe I'm entitled to get unemployment. But
is that because of what happened in Acapulco?
No, that was not. Remember, there was a bribe involved with the federales there. So anyway, but there's a lot of confusion, like how to do this, because for most people, you've never done it before. You never thought you would do it. And the whole process is a little intimidating. I mean, I looked at the SBA process a couple days ago, and maybe it's changed since then. And it required a fair amount of documentation and a fair amount of work to do it. And, you as a business owner, we're definitely impacted. The real estate market is impacted. There's a claim that real estate agents are essential services too, to make a transaction go forward, which, I agree. It's housing, it's places for people to live, but how many homeowners are listing their house right now, or even wanting things in the midst of a pandemic? I will tell you, less than last year, less than a month ago. All right. The statistics, the data already backs this up. So what does that mean? It means no matter what happens in the long run, in the short term, there's going to be less business transacted in real estate, right? Maybe not be hit to the level of restaurants where they're completely shut down unless it's takeout and delivery, which for a lot of restaurants, that business model just doesn't work. So what does that mean for us? I'm not really sure yet. Like, if this goes another 3 months, well, it's going to get, it means Scotty will be writing, money out of his savings account, right? Like Scotty's retirement account is now like something we look at, and I did that, so, I'm not feeling sorry for myself at all. Like, I'm trying to look at this as what's the opportunity. Like, Dustin, you mentioned something earlier, like, okay, like technology provides an opportunity maybe to do things more efficiently. And in this, you have to watch the mindset, more than anything, because you can really get yourself in a real shitty spot mentally. And you start thinking that way, you're going to start projecting that, and you start attracting it back to you. I mean, is that what you've experienced, Dustin? I mean, I've seen your life.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. The mindset is going to be the key thing. Regardless of what we're doing with others, the way that we're thinking about ourselves and the way that we're viewing the world permeates through, right? If we're thinking one thing and trying to act like everything's okay and trying to put on a different face, people can see through it. And it's okay, right? It's okay for us to take a look and recognize shit's really fucked up right now, right? I was talking last night to one of our friends who's in collections. Apparently that person still is heading into the office because collections is considered essential work.
Really?
Who knew? But this person had said as well that this seems different than 2008 for him. He says when he's talking to people, it's very different. And
it's so different.
These types of impacts.
It's so different. It's like I was in the real estate industry, which was the ground zero for the carnage that happened back in the Great Recession. I mean, yes, that affected a lot of people. And
is there any correlation or causation with your involvement in the real estate industry at that time?
Well, there's an investigation that's ongoing. So the in fairness, I did say in like 2006, like, what the hell is going on? Like, how can people be getting these loans? Like, I was like, there's absolutely no way this should be happening. Like, they're bad people, but I remember this duplex on Park Avenue. Sounds very very sexy, Park Avenue, but very prestigious. But it sold for like $350. I'm like, wow, that was a lot of money. Then like 6 months later, it sold for $450,000. I'm like, how did they get that? That's crazy. I'll never get more than that. The next, it sold again for like $525,000, like 3 months later. And then I think it finally sold for like 600. I'm like, oh my God, this, like, I started looking for the meteor that was heading towards the earth. Cause I'm like, this is this is going to be biblical. And, and it was like, in terms of like, real estate crashes, it was like when it was, the second largest of all time. But what happened here is, we saw coronavirus in December. We were hearing about it in Wuhan and stuff, but we didn't really know, like, again, there might've been somebody, maybe the people who were selling the senators who were selling stock, knew, you Dustin, you knew, but I mean, to understand the magnitude of what happened, I don't believe there were too many people. Like, there's people who predict the sky is falling, every week, and who have always got the 7 plagues of ancient Egypt are coming, every week, and they just pick a day. But the reality is that the breadth and the depth of this is like nothing I've ever seen. And I talk about this. It's the closest I can remember is growing up on a family farm in Minnesota in the 80s. And Dustin, you're from Melrose, Minnesota. And, kind of the epicenter. Yeah. The epicenter of the farm country. And like when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, it was like 5 years of just absolute, complete, utter poverty and just bitterness and just fear, because that was my whole world, right? I was a kid. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't work. I wanted to help, but I couldn't do anything. And you feel like that right now, like so much of the world is just kind of like getting weird. And for me, the thing is, I was doing this exercise, this gratitude exercise every morning. Write down 5 things I'm grateful for, and then 5 things 5 positive things that happened the day before. And then for some reason last week I stopped doing it, like some idiot moron that I am, because I am, and it changed my mindset completely. I got negative, and then I'm like, okay, Scott, start doing your podcast every day. Start doing your Tumor Tales YouTube channel. Go live every day. And I'm like, and start being positive and being a shining force. Oh, this internet connection. Be positive, Scott. The positive thing about my internet connection sucking right now is there's a lot of people on the internet. So we're testing the internet. But no, like, just be positive and reach out to people and figure out what they're doing, and you know what? And then, then you get the inner voice. And you're like, well, I'm worried, what if nobody tunes in? I'm like, well, so what? You're doing it, if nothing else, you're talking to you're talking to old friends. You're talking to business associates. They're sharing their story. They're showing vulnerability. They're talking about, yeah, I'm afraid too, but this is what I'm doing about it. And then other people can identify with that and say, you know what, cool. They're afraid, but they're willing to actually just go out and talk about their being afraid, and the fact that in spite of being afraid, fuck it, I'm going forward anyhow, right? And I'm moving that way anyhow. And if nothing else, if the only 2 people that benefit from us doing this today is you and I, Dustin, then we accomplished something. So I think our wives would beg to differ. They just said you guys just doing the same thing you do on the phone, except that you're doing it on Facebook.
I'll be honest, when you shot me a message and asked me to come on, you actually helped me get a thing off my to-do list, because I was planning on doing this with you anyways. I just didn't know we were going to have an audience.
There you go. Now you did it. See, I helped you clear one of your to-do list items off. Probably like on the phone or on this thing way longer than we would have been. So it's probably keeping you from doing one too. So the universe equals itself out.
Scott, I look at this and as we came into this, I'm putting myself 2 months, 2 years, 10 years ahead, right? I'm thinking, what is this going to look like for me in the future, assuming I make it through this and I'll still be alive in 10 years from now. But what I'm really kind of looking at is this is such an amazing time for so many of us. I've got a daughter who's in college now. Well, she's not in college, she's back home. I'm not traveling anymore, which means I get to see my family for dinner every night. Since the last time you and I talked, I think I lost probably 15 or 20 pounds, and that's all coming back now. But I'm getting great time with the family, and the family is spending good time with each other, and we're healthy and we're happy, and maybe some spending's not going to happen, but that's okay. We're looking at this time, playing games. It's a pretty cool experience if you're really taking the time to enjoy it.
Yeah, you're spending time with each other.
Books back there, tons of things that I can continue to invest when I was way too busy to do it before. There's a lot of opportunities. So I keep looking, like, in 2 years from now, in 2 months from now, how am I going to look back and say, I made the best out of this. I had some good opportunities and I took them. Or, I can just wallow in self-pity and filth and watch movies all day long and, maybe change my clothes once a week.
You can do that too on top of it. But, Jim Rohn, and I'm sure other people have said it, but Jim Rohn said, the most valuable thing you have today is today. And you get to decide how you want to spend today. And if you want to spend today being bitter and angry and, and fear leads to those things, Yoda talked about it in Star Wars, and not to make light of, but fear leads to frustration, to anger, to bitterness and stuff. When you look back a year from now, because we'll get through this, like it's gonna pass. We don't know how good or bad, or good. I shouldn't say good, but we don't know how bad this will be when it's all said and done. It's there's unfortunately, it's probably more people gonna get sick, more people gonna get tested, more people gonna, unfortunately, more people are gonna die, and it sucks. And I hope, I really hope it's not. I hope nobody dies, right? I don't want anybody to die. But we look back a year from now, we will look at how we use this time. And I love what you just said. Your daughter's back home. You're not traveling as much. You can be pissed off and sit at home and walk back and forth and pace around like an ogre. And, you look like one, but you could act like one, and you'd fit the role really well. But like like what?
I'm like an
onion. That's right. Ogres are like onions. But you really, they're like cakes. But the thing is, like, you'll be able to look back a year from now, no matter what happens. You could lose your job, you could lose your contract, you could lose everything. But if you got 30 days to spend with your daughter who's in college, with the rest of your family, and you enjoyed it, and you played, and you were happy, and you had real joy, and you embraced the moment, how the hell could you ever put a price on that? Mm-hmm. Like, and you know what? You can get people worried about your mortgage. I think you can get a forbearance right now, or a modification. Like, I'm looking into that right now for people. Like, look, if you can get a hold on your mortgage for 3 months, okay, so that takes a big chunk of expense off. If you can get some of these other relief packages, I'm not saying it's better if you're unemployed, and it's better if you ask for, you swallow your pride and get your mortgage delayed. But what if you've effectively, with a little bit of work, bought yourselves 30 to 60 days of staycation with your family where you can enjoy it, do some projects around the house? You may never have an opportunity like this again.
No, and I take a look for our family vacations. We like to go places and stay there for a while, right? We want to spend a week together. Right. And a lot of it's not based on the activities, right? It's not about water skiing and zip lining and all that stuff. It's just about having the time together. Well, now we have that. We have our time together. We're able to enjoy it. And the thing I really like about this is we're seeing so much creativity coming out into the world right now. I love the way that people are responding to that. And I even think for high school kids, right? We got kids that are following the path. They're doing what people told them to do. You've got to go in sports. You got to get this GPA, blah, 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 so you can get into college. And now the sports are going away. The classes are being messed up. And kids are worried, how do I get into college now? Well, right. There's some really good opportunities. Think about the universities looking at students coming in. We all know that everything is messed up. You're not going to be captain of the soccer team anymore, right? Because that's gone. So how are they going to identify it? If a kid comes to university and says, yeah, I noticed things got really bad and I ended up getting sick, but that meant that I was immune. So now I'm able to pick up groceries and help all the old people. Matter of fact, I started a business where I did it, right? That's the kind of ingenuity that universities are going to be looking for. I don't care if your GPA is 2.7. If you can see an opportunity and get after that, right? That is what the value is here. And even if you're not doing something like that, the first thing that popped into my head when this stuff started to go down is leaders lead in times of need. We're not following the same patterns anymore. Let's find a way to lead and help other people out.
Absolutely. And I love that attitude. And it's like, I want to help people any way I can right now. Like even if it's just showing information, I'm like, and every time I post something, I'm like, oh gosh, am I gonna be that guy posting more bullshit on my Facebook feed? I'm like, well, you know what? People have messaged me privately and said, thank you for sharing that. I post one on, hey, work attendants get assistance, unemployment assistance, food stamps. How do you get SNAP benefits? There's a different program. There's the county has aid for people. Like, yeah, do landlords I work for get helped if we help the tenants? Sure. So I just help two people, right? If I help a tenant, be less stressed out, and then I might have helped someone in their family because they're happier, right? So they're more willing to go help someone else. So this thing just kind of like snowballs. Otherwise, I could just sit back and say, yeah, not my problem. I don't really care, and then you get the troll, they'll side text you and say, well, don't post something about landlords and that evictions. Oh, internet connection. I love you, internet. I love you, internet. You gotta think positive, right? Landlords are, there's some changes to the eviction laws right now. Well, what do you for the landlords? Oh, we're purveyors of information, right? We are telling people, like, the fact that I want to deny something does not make it untrue, right? If it's the taming of the shrew, right? If I say the sky is what the sun is blue or pink or whatever, is it pink? I mean, no, probably not. But we just have our job is to, if we want to take the role of helping people, it's to help all people, right? Like I don't discriminate between whether you are employed, unemployed, landlord, renter, homeowner, whatever. If there's something that I think that can help you, I want to get that out there for you, and because I hope that someone will return the favor to me, and there are people who have, they're people who have, given me information I didn't know, I've asked, what's going on with these loans for small business owners? Like, are they forgivable? Because, there's people who ask me what can I do right now, Scott? What do you know? And I want to be able to give them good information. So.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Rumsfeld model, right? Donald Rumsfeld. There's things that we know. There's things we know that we don't know. And there are things that we don't know that we don't know.
That's the most important.
So you put a bunch of stuff out there. Guess what? People have got time to sift through it. If they want to find something, maybe you're going to give them a link. Maybe you'll give them some information that's going to allow them to help themselves, or maybe just in a conversation with their brother-in-law over dinner. They mentioned something about their problem. They go, I remember seeing something about that. Let me get back to you on that. Let me help you out. It doesn't hurt to share that information.
And it's amazing how much you get done if you worry about who's taking the credit, right? Mm-hmm. Like if there's exactly, there's something that this conversation has today that, helps one of us think of something that helps, us give somebody else a positive message or some guidance, it's amazing. So, and that's why I like to invite people, like, if you have more information, if you have clarification, if you have something that simplifies, distills down all the information that's out there, put in the comments, so we can share it with people. We can always pull it out and repost it, or other people can pull it out and repost it, because right now, I think if we can get past the fear, that everyone has, because it's the unknown, we don't know. It's this silent enemy, right? It's not like it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex and we all have got machine guns. We see it over there on the bluff, right? This is this little thing that we can't see that is killing people or causing conditions that kill people. And we don't know when this is all going to end. And it's scary, right? You don't know what to expect.
Scott, think of this another way as well, too. You've got a couple of young boys. You've had a lot of fun watching them learn. And what's interesting is, as they're young, when they first start walking, bam, they keep falling down over and over and over, right? And they get up and they try something else. And they're trying to find all these different ways to learn. They're responding to new stuff, and that's okay. And then when we get old, we think we know everything. And we get on autopilot, and we just expect to go through the world the way that we know it. That's not our world anymore. And that's okay. We're all in the same boat together. So go ahead and learn things. Go ahead and try stuff out. You fail? All right. You found something that doesn't work.
Agreed. So just a sidebar. What is the DEF CON level for the state there? And you're in a suburb of Des Moines too, right?
Correct. I'm in beautiful Altoona, Des Moines playground.
Oh yes, all the playboys are in Altoona. What is the state shut down? I don't remember what the status is.
No, in Iowa, the governor has chosen not to enact the stay at home, although the mayor in Des Moines has publicly stated different intentions. We're still in the spot where we're not seeing a big spread. But the thing that I always have in my head is that this is the data that we have is actually a trailing indicator. It's kind of like looking at a star, right? You're not seeing the star, you're seeing what was the star by the time it got to us. The data that we're seeing is not, it doesn't reflect today's reality. We don't know how many people are out there who are sick. You don't know who the sick people are. It can take 2 weeks for this to show up. The other thing too is with the people who are being tested. I've got several friends now who have contracted the virus. One of them, she was.
So you know people. You actually know.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but you actually know people.
I found out this week that a lady I was working with in Detroit had gone on a vacation skiing in Utah and came back. And when she came back, I was with her for a day and a half, and then she left at noon on Tuesday, and nobody really thought anything of it. 2 weeks later, she reemerged and told us her story. And she was down for 2 weeks solid. I've got another friend, his whole family had caught it, and it was probably a 4 to 5 day where they were really hurting hard and then started to come out of it. So it varies for people, but we really don't know these things, and there's so many unknowns out there. So
yeah, that's some of the new data I've heard too. Like that's where it gets interesting, because there's a growing belief from people, the scientific communities and academia, that a lot of people have had this already, because the symptoms vary so widely depending, and they haven't really pinned it down, because they're still analyzing data. Like if it's a certain blood type or a certain condition, people react worse. I've seen the video about ibuprofen making it worse. I don't know if that's true or not. Nobody can really say at this point. Right now, most of the evidence is anecdotal, and you don't there's much made of the firm cases in the United States is, most in the world, but I'm like, oh, you stupid internet.
Those are the cases that we have tests for, and they're usually testing people who are 60 and over. So what is the real number of that? 3x, 5x?
Yeah, exactly. Like how many people have, like these are just people who've been tested, and we've tested more people here in the United States than any other country has, I believe, because I think we've really ramped up the testing. So, I mean, it's just, I think, again, that's everybody wants to know what it is, right? Everybody wants to know, in the fog of war, so to speak, everyone kind of, most of what's been said is worst case scenario, because they want the government, or the people who are trying to save lives are saying, look, if we don't talk about the worst case scenario, people won't take it seriously, and we're more likely to get to the worst case. I believe it's kind of the rationale behind it, because we don't want people to be, if we had, the whole thing here is people, they believe that it isn't necessary. They're finding that it may or may not have a mortality rate that is a lot higher than the common flu. They're not even sure. They don't really know, but they're like, if it is, say 1 or even 2%, okay, mortality rate, and we get hit with this huge influx of people into our hospitals, we're screwed. There's no way to treat them. So, I mean, I've been all over the board emotionally with this thing. I've been like, there's part of me is like, screw it, I'm Superman, I can go do whatever I want, and then there's the other part of me is like, okay, let's get the sandbags, let's get some ammo, and start building the bunker, and it's just like, you don't, neither is right or wrong. It's just, you just got to figure out what works for you, and follow the guidelines. It's not what works for you. It's, what's for the good of the community, right? Like,
I think that's the key right there. We had one neighbor came back from a vacation. They sent text messages that said, hey, we're gone. We're going to self-quarantine, right? We're going to try to protect the community. And then we end up seeing them walking outside a few days later, and they're like, it'll be fine. I went to the grocery store already today. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't really your choice. It's not your choice to gamble with somebody else's health.
See, that to me
You
is a
know?
dick move. Like you want to be smart. Like you want to have
Yeah.
some respect for your neighbors. If if you just came off a cruise ship where, like the one that's stuck out at sea right now with 4 people who have died, you're coming off that, do everyone have some respect for people and just self quarantine till you don't have a problem, or get tested. Yeah, I just there's some things that are just a little bit, they're cavalier and disrespectful. I mean, you're talking to a guy who's supposed to be in Florida right now. Like, this was supposed to be a joke. First family, the last 3 family trips. This one was coronavirus, so we didn't go. They closed they closed everything in Orlando. The last one, my wife was hospitalized for 2 weeks for cellulitis, and the one before that, I find out I have a brain tumor. It's like, okay, well, hopefully this is the rule of 3s. We got it out of the way. Maybe the next one is when the meteor hits the earth. I don't know. But
Every vacation I've gone on with you ended up being a shit show. Now that I think of it, Scott.
well, yeah, it was its own natural disaster. We just had it,
I'm seeing a pattern emerge here.
Yeah, no, but it's great. I love it. I love catching up and getting some your perspective with me, because it really is a blessing to be able to spend some time with your family and actually be present. Like, that's the key. Like, it's an overused phrase, I think, at times, but like, really, just kids don't need 8 hours of intense staring at them or focus time. They need about 20-30 minutes each a day, but where you're actually with them. No, I mean, not where you're not there, but I mean where you actually like a minimum of that, to just like engage with them, make them feel like you're there, you're listening to them, you play with them, you engage in some kind of activity. You do that with each child.
Hear what they're saying and hear what they're not saying as well.
Yeah, and put this damn thing down, and not, I mean, I trust me, I'm guilty of it as much as or more than anybody. Like, my kids will even say, "Daddy, put your phone down." And when they say that, I'm like, okay, you're right. And I shove it in the corner. I may not look at it for the rest of the night. It's 10:30 at night when they do that. So it's a huge sacrifice. No, but I mean, there's a lot of nights that'll be 7 o'clock. Oh, your internet connection. And so I gotta quit getting distracted by that. But it just, they get this just rage, right? But they remind me, like, look, your job is to be present and be a parent right now. It's not to be checking how many cases of COVID-19 are there in the world right now, every 15 seconds. So now March Madness, no baseball season. What are you gonna do for fun, Dustin? Wow, profound.
I really don't even know. I think, honestly, just kind of being present with the family. I've got a ton of home videos that I've taken over many years. We've got a bunch of pictures. It's always been that thing where I said, I want to get these things organized, right? I want to go through the videos. I'd love to go through the videos and get the best kicks from the kids' soccer games. I'd love to go through the books that I have and dig into that more and invest into learning with myself. I've got some drums. I want to spend some time drumming with my kids and having those types of things. I don't really need to watch TV or to kind of look outside to find some entertainment. Boring people get bored, right? So
Right.
I'm still kind of worried I might actually have to create a schedule for myself just to, keep myself focused and figure out what I want to do.
Well, you say that.
There's a lot of opportunities.
You say that. I don't think you're joking. I mean, you really should be planning your days out a little bit, even if you're planning for leisure time. Like, it's really easy to, I talk about him a lot, a guy named Dan Sullivan, but he talked about having free days, focus days, and buffer days. And, the free days are 24 hours, midnight to midnight, where you don't do any work, right? But, it's okay you should plan those out too, so that you make sure that you're actually leaving time for yourself, right? Where you're actually making sure that you're allocating, okay, I've got some time with the family on my free day, but I'm also, you're giving Dustin, some time so you can refresh and revitalize your mind and your body and stuff. And if you don't block that time, you're not going to do it. like, I'm not saying you got to go down to every 15 minutes like Kirk Cousins does, but 2 hours of reading time. Like, I'm going to be reading from 10 to noon. Could I get a little bit of peace and quiet here, please?
Yeah, when I switched from full-time employment, all of a sudden things changed because I realized every hour of the day I could be working, I could be making money. And that's a really weird place to be in, to know that you could be billing out every hour that you're working. And I really found, I focused on the 3 M's is what I call it. I can spend time, making money. I can spend time making memories with my family and my friends and people I care about, or I could spend time just on me. And the making memories thing, it's not about just being in the room while they're watching SpongeBob, although that's fun too. But it really is like, let's do things. The kids wanted to put up a tent on Wednesday night, Thursday night. So we put up a tent. We slept outside when it was 43 degrees. We had a little heater in there and it was 57 inside the tent. And at 5 a.m. we woke up because it was thundering and lightning, and we tore down the tent in about 15 minutes. But
two of the kids were electrocuted from the electric heater, and one was burned, 30-degree burns from the fact.
Yeah, hold this metal
the plastic
rock
tent started on fire.
Yeah, but and the me time, the me time is one of those things that often gets sacrificed. We want to be able to take the opportunities with the family and take the opportunities with work. And I remember in college, my roommate, Jason Bukowski, he would sit down and watch movies during the day, planes, trains, and automobiles. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You're committing 2 hours to doing nothing. There's shit that needs to get done, man. How can you do that? And I would realize that sometimes I would be flailing about, right, trying to focus on so many things that I wasn't focused, right? Because I was trying to do all this stuff at once. And he'd just sit down and shut his brain off and enjoy the movie that he's seen so many times. And I found that I would have anxiety when I would try to do that myself. But now I just say, look, this is going to be the day, right? Some weekends I take Saturday off and I'm going to watch football. I'm going to shut my brain off and I don't care. Right. And I know that I'll come back to it. Maybe I do a little bit of planning beforehand. So I say, here's my to-do list tomorrow. And I'm going to make sure that the things that need to get done are going to get done. But to have that time where you just give yourself, say, it's okay, right? I can just chill out. I can shut my brain off. I'll worry about things tomorrow.
Well, and I think it's more than okay. It's necessary. Like, if you truly like I'm, me, I'm guilty as any person with trying to do too much, too fast all the time. And
you're not going to do anything unless you can do it your best.
Yeah. And you need that time to like kind of just recharge the batteries and just let things go. Like and it's so much healthier. Like I know for even me, like letting other people have the opportunity to succeed or fail, right? And a lot of times other people won't do it the way you will, and a lot of times they'll forget the things that you would have remembered to do, and you know what, but sometimes they might do it better, and sometimes they might remember things you wouldn't have done. So
well, and we learn from our failures, right? You and I have had plenty of failures that we've learned from. Other people need to go through the same thing. You can't give them the answer. They have to experience it.
That's why I'm surprised your parents had another kid. That makes sense now.
I was 6 years old when Tessa was born. And I think at the age of 6, mom and dad started to see some things and say, shit. we need to mitigate.
Oh, gosh. And we know each other too well. So everything I want to say right now, I just won't say. All right. So, well, speaking of which, it is Saturday. Has it started raining yet? I can't tell. But I'm going to go spend some time with the boys. This has been fantastic. Any final thoughts, COVID-19, life, quotes you stole from someone else that you want to use as your own?
No. I think we all just need to, be kind to ourselves, be kind to the people around us. It's a crazy time. The expectations are low. Take advantage of it. Do the things that you're going to be happy about in 2 months or 2 years from now.
Well, and I think that's a great way to put it. Like your expectations should be, look, savor this time with the family. Don't try to force anything. Don't try it too hard, right? It's like redlining a race car, right? When you're in first gear, you know what? You're in first gear. Yeah, I know you're in a race car, but just drive around the track and enjoy looking at the track, and maybe take the race car out in the woods and drive in the woods a little bit, a la Lightning McQueen. And, just let it be, go in first gear and enjoy the scenery right now. And I know you're meant to go 200 miles an hour, but there'll be time to do that again. And we're going to be in a country that's going to need some rebuilding, right? If nothing else, it's going to be a damaged psyche that's going to be rebuilding. There's going to be plenty of work to do. And I think it's imperative that you take this time and fill up that bank of the accounts, replenish those accounts with your wife and kids and friends.
Yeah.
Those accounts need to be filled up too. So if you need to take a withdrawal in the future, they'll be there. But if you fuck it up now and you spend your whole time being stressed out and focusing on things you cannot change, you're going to waste the opportunity.
And another thing too, the world that we're coming back to is going to be very different, in my belief. I'm a big fan of Tesla. I love some of the things that they're doing. They might have their full self-driving in cities working soon, right? So we might have the cars driving back and forth to the grocery stores and dropping off to people.
Well, I definitely think this is going to have a huge evolution in the way people work. Right.
Yeah.
Because
we're not coming back to the same world. So we have to be creative.
Yeah. This has forced people to think differently. It's going to change how we dine out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot less options, unfortunately. But it's going to change how restaurant owners think their business models. It's going to change how cities do disaster preparedness. If we don't learn the lessons from this, and we don't know what they're all going to be yet, but if we don't learn the lessons, then it was all wasted. Like if we do learn something and we evolve and we take that and we get better as individuals, as a species, country, whatever, however you want to categorize us. Like if we don't take this opportunity to get better, it was a complete waste of time. So I think that's the challenge I lay out for everyone else. How does this make me better? This is the obstacle. Where's the opportunity? How do I transform the obstacle into the opportunity, right? And again, Dan Sullivan, the obstacle is the raw material for the opportunity. So how do we build from this? And right now, a lot of that is just pulling yourself away a little bit, knowing, look, there is relief coming from money. If you're afraid about rent, call your landlord and just say, hey, look, I'm going to be late this month. I've got some money coming. I got unemployment coming. That's fine. Most landlords, unless they're a complete asshole, are going to say, yes, I understand. I understand what's going on. I mean, unless you're completely blind and, living in truly living in a bunker, a missile silo in South Dakota, what's going on. And to give somebody a week or two extra to get their rent, that shouldn't be a big deal, right? Like, call your mortgage company. If you can get a 3-month modification, so you don't have to worry about making that payment, do it, and take this opportunity to work on yourself and give yourself some time to heal and replenish and recharge and recharge the batteries with everyone around you too.
I was having a really good conversation with my niece's boyfriend, and Gavin and I were just curious. We said, what is this world? What are we going to look back at this point of time right now and go, well, obviously that happened, right? There's a lot of those things which aren't obvious now. One of the things that we came up with, we said, well, the graduating class of 2039 is probably going to be the biggest in U.S. history.
The next baby boom.
Exactly, right? Obviously there's this, one actor who became very famous. I don't believe he's with us anymore.
Okay.
But there's these things that we're going to look back that are obvious right now. And, I got a buddy who's moving to Raleigh, North Carolina, and he was going to have to drive out there to sign the papers. Well, guess what? They figured out different ways to make that happen. There's going to be a lot of these types of opportunities. And, I think that so many of us can look at the areas that we know something about, and we can take a look at what really wasn't working before. What can we do? And individuals are going to have some really good opportunities to step up and to try some different things. And just take the time to think about it, right? We go so fast all the time. We're too busy to learn. We're too busy to listen. We're too busy to try anything new. Take the time, experiment.
Well, one thing about working at home too, for a lot of folks who don't normally do it, and I don't love working at home. Like I prefer to work at work for a number of reasons, but you get a different perspective, and you find out in a lot of ways you become a little more efficient. Where sometimes you can be really inefficient at home, especially if the fridge is there, the TV's there, and whatever. And but you find out what's important, what's not important in your daily routines, because in that quest to be a little more efficient and get more done in less amount of time, you find out, okay, I really didn't need to do this. I really didn't need to be doing this. And I think, again, if people are willing to like record that and bring that back to work when we get back into more quote unquote normal economy and lifestyle, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna have huge productivity gains, and I think it'll allow us to evolve as a society a little bit. So that being said, Dustin, it has been my pleasure. Totally the highlight of the last hour and 10 minutes, like completely. But no, this has been great. Great catching up. Thanks for doing this. Is this your first podcast?
No.
No.
My first podcast with you.
First one with me, and the first one today.
Yes. It's my first podcast in this sector as well.
Really?
I now have one experience in real estate.
Wow, you're
I even dressed up like an agent today for you.
I like it. And the question is like, well, what are you guys talking about real estate? We're not doing a lot. We're not talking about, NARA's come out today with the number of listings is up. The number of listings is down. Anybody needs to know that the listings are down, the showings are down, the sales are going to be down right now. The goal here, real people, real talk, front lines of life. And that's what we're trying to do here right now. And hopefully we can help people. If you can pull one thing out of this time you spent with us, we did our job here. And if you can share one thing that's going to help us, that would be awesome too. So anyway, with that, I am Scot Picard. This is the Real Estate World Podcast, signing off here from beautiful, cloudy Minnetrista, Minnesota. We will see you next time, noon tomorrow.
Take care, Scott. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you.